Why does money seem to always control every decision I make? Even when I met you, that was probably the first time I've ever thought about really seriously going into entrepreneurship. I was literally living in the present, but you did such a good job of living in the future, even though we weren't there yet. You know, some people want change, but the deeper question is, are you willing to change the way you think? My new mindset is, I must have a business to have the American dream.
How would you explain faith in our marriage, in our relationship, in our finances, in our business?
You have to understand.
Let's get this money. Those dollar bills getting this on out of. Let's get this money. 1 year, better know I'm on it.
What's cracking, everybody? Money Smart Guy Matt Sapaula here, hailing to you from Dallas, Texas, and welcome to another 7-Figure Squad podcast. Very first time I have this special person on my podcast. We've done podcasts before where we were interviewed, but there's always another third party that was there. But the first time ever that my beautiful wife, Sheena Sapaula, is on the 7-Figure Squad podcast. Welcome, babe.
Thanks for having me.
Just let you know, there's that whole thing about opposites attract.
Yes.
And that's true because...
I'm totally opposite.
But you've been a highly requested person to jump on the podcast. People want to know who Sheena Sapaula is.
Just remember our deal. You said you would flirt with me. So.
Of course. We're going to get a lot of that. Of course. On and off camera. More off camera than on. So a bunch of topics we're going to discuss today. Gen Z, babe. We're going to have a conversation about Gen Z, about them. Are they hard workers? Other topic here is people barely making credit card payments. Housing hits another record high. How faith is important, especially when your favorite school, Notre Dame.
Very funny.
My wife went to the University of Pittsburgh. But faith is very important, especially to Notre Dame football coach and Catholic convert coach Marcus Freeman. Middle children. You're a middle child.
I am.
So it says your middle children grow up to be better people, beating out sibling rivals in two crucial categories. We'll find out what that is in a second. Parents modeling financial transparency and how that benefits a child as they build their relationship with money growing up. And of course, we got a couple reaction videos here. A video here on RFK dropping a crazy plan to tackle diabetes epidemic. Speaking of epidemic, the opposite is pandemic. What does Bill Gates have to say about a pandemic potentially happening here shortly? And then the last one here we're going to cover is Trump meeting Hurricane Helene survivors and what's been taught on his first week as a president. So, by the way, that being said, here's something that's pretty interesting. I was reading about this. Guys, let me know who you might think this might be. This particular person started at her college all 4 years. Make a long story short, she's got the school record. Tied for second on the team with 29 runs, 160 at-bats, moving to single season home runs list with 6 homers. Stole a season high 23 bases, which is the second best in program history, University of Pittsburgh. Tallied 10 doubles for 20 RBIs, recorded first career grand slam to put Pitt ahead in a 6-5 Syracuse win. What an awesome moment that could have been if I would have been there in the stands cheering you on, but I think that was age gap would have been too obvious at a point. Earned 2 stolen bases against Villanova and Youngstown State. Posted a team second highest slugging percentage. By the way, who am I talking about? I'm talking about my wife.
Had fun.
My wife is a softball studette, Hall of Famer in her high school, Rancho Cordova, and we went there to your enshrining the Hall of Fame.
Yes. It's fun.
It's fun.
You have more fun than me. I think it was your Hall of Fame. Matter of fact, when we were in the lobby area, people thought you were the one that was being inducted.
Yeah, because a bunch of football players that went to your high school and to play in the NFL, they're like, so when did you play? I said, I'm not the one being inducted to the Hall of Fame. It's my wife.
That was funny.
I always say that my wife is a hotter, smarter, obviously more educated between the two of us. She's the one who got the full ride scholarship to play softball. She's got the degree in finance. And I mean, just look at her. You know, she's more hotter than I am. Hot from a dude, she's more hotter as a woman.
But you're good looking too.
Yeah, of course you gotta say that. Of course you gotta say that. You know?
No, I do because I really married you, so there has to be
No, you're
something there, right?
you're pretty hot yourself. You know, some things I like to do with you.
Yeah, inappropriate. Just stop yourself.
Well, speaking of a lot of inappropriate things, we met on your hospital bed.
Yes, but not like on the bed. You're implying something.
I'm-
There
yeah,
was like it
I'm
was
just
a
stating
nurses week,
facts.
a bunch of people
I'm
around.
stating facts,
All
sweetheart.
right,
I'm just
making sure.
sticking to the facts.
Mm-hmm.
But truth be told, yes, I was doing the 5 Gotchas of Money financial workshop at the Georgia Hospital
Where your mom?
where my mom works.
Mhm.
And because my mom had been a client for a very long time, she invited me to do Nurses Week workshop for her nurses.
So technically, I met you and your mom at the same time.
That's right. And so when I walked into the room, there she was. There's who is this beautiful woman? Caught her side profile, curly hair. I'm like, I got to talk to her. Anyway, make a long story short, I did approach you.
You did with confidence, extreme.
Did
confidence.
you like that?
I did.
Really?
I was really impressed by it.
So what's more attractive to a woman? Because men, we're very visual. Are women very visual too?
Yes, we do have to have physical attraction, but we're very much attracted to a man who's very confident because it means you know what you want and you don't waver. We hate the wavering. I don't like guys that change their minds.
My wife has helped me out, fellas. She's helping you
No,
out.
no, only with me though. I'm helping them out, but you made your decision. So just there we go.
I'm 100% glad I made the decision. But when I first started talking about what I do for a living, right? I said I'm in the financial service. I'm in the insurance business. What was your first initial reaction?
Oh, you said stuff that I didn't know or never heard of, and my degree's in finance. So I was really curious. And even when you were, I guess you could say you were working, didn't feel like work. It was like opposite of what I felt. I was like, I feel like I'm working by definition. Like you're just running ragged and all this stuff. And I felt like you had like this purpose driven and you were happy about it. So that's what really piqued my curiosity.
I mean, you were 100% commission too.
Yes.
You're working for Stryker Medical,
Mhm.
right?
I was.
Selling hospital beds to hospitals. I mean, I was like, when you first told me you sold hospital beds, I'm like, I know that had to be sold.
Me neither.
Really?
Me neither until I started working for Stryker. And I was first in the marketing department. It's a great company. I had a great time there. And they said, hey, we're going to put on a convention for the sales force. I didn't know what that was. So we're putting this on and then we go to the convention and you see the lights, the camera, you see them like walking across stage, getting these awards, all this recognition and even the income. And I was just allured
So
to
what
it.
were you making in marketing department?
Not a lot.
You remember?
I was in Kalamazoo, Michigan, so it was like $40,000 a year.
So,
Oh,
okay.
I do. I remember it. to the
So
T.
right out of college, you're making 40 grand a year.
Mhm.
So they recruited you.
Yes,
in Pitt.
they like athletes. They like competitive individuals.
So Stryker was at a student fair, job fair,
Career fair for the student athletes.
huh?
hmm
Not the regular student body.
Student athletes.
Interesting.
Mhm.
Babe, I never knew that.
Yeah, a lot of athletes will work for Stryker.
Who else was recruiting? Who else was president at that fair specifically for athletes? I
I don't
imagine
know if
Enterprise
anybody
Rent a Car.
else. No, but when I went to Stryker, I just noticed that the people they were from all different colleges, but all of them have a background in some kind of sport.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hello. By the way, that for those of you guys building a team, building a company, that's a big tell. Some of the biggest companies in America specifically recruit student athletes,
Mhm.
scholarship student athletes.
Teamwork, competitive, discipline. They know how to work. They love going after a goal. So it makes sense, the traits that they look for. And you definitely have to be mentally tough working for Stryker.
And, I went to your alumni. You invited me to your alumni
I always
weekend.
say you're alumni. That's what you acted like.
If you hadn't noticed, I live vicariously through my wife's successes.
It's pretty fun because I'm more chill and calm and you're just not. You're opposite. So we're like a good balance. So it's entertaining.
Well, I never went to college, so, but I've heard stories of college and what goes on at college. And so when you invite me to a college and I kind of see a glimpse of whatever I've been told to kind of be true,
Mm-hmm.
I'm having a blast, And so, the whole college experience, I'll never live in my lifetime. But college student athletes are also very structured because people often think that you're a big person on campus because you represent your school, you're playing sports. But I mean, you had a pretty structured discipline schedule.
I mean, 5 a.m., you had to do your cardio, your weight training. Then you go to your classes in the morning. and you come back from class to do practice. Then you have
What time's practice?
It's usually in the afternoon. So once you get done with the morning classes,
Like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock?
No, probably like 1.
So school's done basically in the morning.
It's very different than high school, but again, it's your responsibility to get your credits done and get your work done. After the morning classes, then you go to practice. So after practice, it's recovery. Then you go to study hall because you had to get hours in. And then you have just enough time to eat, do your homework, and go to sleep and wake up and start all over again.
So it's like boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, and in softball, we played probably 60 to 80 games in our season.
How many?
60 to 80.
I heard the rumor is that you guys took beautiful showers after your games.
Oh, there's so many bad stereotypes out there.
The truth is, as soon as your games were done, you guys got back in the bus.
Right.
Sweaty, stanky.
We had to create
nasty.
We bathed ourselves in our own way.
So you feel, in Marine Corps, we call it a field shower.
Really?
Yeah, you take a wet rag and just,
We call it bird bath.
Bird bath, right?
Yes.
You wipe, so you got to make sure the last thing you wipe is your face
I
with
don't
that
know
same
why
towel.
we go all the way deep like that. You just go like borderline. I don't want to bring you back.
Let's get into these topics. Okay, so Gen Z.
Mm-hmm.
Where's my Gen Zs out there? If you're Gen Z, put Gen Z in the comment section. Gen Z are really the hardest to work with. Even managers of their own generation say they're difficult. Instead, bosses plan to hire more of their millennial counterparts, the older counterparts. So a Resume Genius survey of 625 U.S. hiring managers revealed that 45% find Gen Z, born between 1997 and 2012, the most difficult to work with 50% of Gen Z hiring managers agreeing their peers are the hardest to manage. Complaints include lateness, unpreparedness, and refusal to complete tasks deemed too labor-intensive, leading to rapid firing shortly after hiring. Despite this, Gen Z remains the second most likely group to be hired, following millennials, but ahead of Gen X's and baby boomers. Any thoughts? What's your initial reaction when you hear this?
To be honest, my initial reaction, I'm a millennial.
And I'm Gen X.
Yeah, that is part of it's true. Like you do see that. I won't put and generalize it. It's all of them. I won't say that.
We see them all the time in our office.
Right.
We have all age groups in our office.
You start to go back and say, like, how did I grow up? And we didn't have, GPS. Like we had to go on MapQuest on the computer. We had to wait for the dial up to come up. And then we would hopefully we had a printer available to print out the directions, or we had to like write it on paper.
Oh my gosh, it's just so labor intensive, MapQuest. Right?
But think about it. We didn't know any different. And then you would have to drive hoping you don't miss, like, how much is a mile? I hope I don't miss my turn. And I feel like we didn't have access to that kind of information. Like we had to learn how to be resourceful.
Yeah.
And now you have the Gen Z, they have, I think in my opinion, too much information.
Yeah.
And some of it's not the right. It's good to have information, but it's also what's the right information.
Do you know what a fax machine is?
Yes, I know what a fax.
Do you know what a pager is?
Yes, I do.
Do you know what a landline is?
Yes, I do.
Do you know what a rotary phone is?
I do.
Okay, just
I don't know why you want to ask. It makes you look bad when you start asking me that. You're trying to age yourself more than me.
It's crazy how much has changed even in my life. Think about, sweetheart, in our son's lifetime, JoJo.
Mm-hmm.
He's 14 years old today. How much my man, how much will technology change in his lifetime? They predict that in 10 years we won't have smartphones anymore. We're going to have smart glasses.
Oh, it's going to be interesting. I mean, it's like a parent. How do you balance it, right? We don't want him on social media at all.
Yeah.
I want him just to stay as focused. I want to keep him away from that as long as possible. Because at least in the younger years, when we have all the control to mold his foundation, I feel he'll be more prepared when he gets older, and we can't keep that stuff from him. So, but it's going to be an interesting new world. But then again, we adapted to this world if we think back 40, 50, 60 years ago.
Yep.
So they'll adapt.
What's our policy with JoJo being a teenager and social media?
He's not allowed on social media.
Until I agree. Until what age? By the way, a good book for you to read is Anxious Generation. Our CEO, founder, mentor, PBD, Patrick David recommended to us. What age, if you had, this is the age, now you can be on Instagram.
Oh, goodness. Like,
I'd say late as possible. I'd say maybe junior, senior year.
I would even say after that. I mean.
Yeah. In the meantime, I'll manage his Instagram for his sports, from his huddle, sports clips and all that stuff. But in terms of how he appears on social. Like the challenge though he's going to have is people are going to see him, but he won't have any visibility on it.
It could be good or
himself.
bad, you know,
Yeah.
because sometimes opinions are just not necessary. I
Oh.
think that's why for him, the most important part right now is whatever opinion he has on himself is the most important one
Yeah.
because he's going to get a lot of opinions on him.
Yeah.
Whether he wants to or not, he's got to learn to not accept them.
You're very good with that. You're very good with our kids. You're constantly giving them affirmations,
Very much.
and it's very helpful.
Well, your 5-year-old, our 5-year-old, can we talk about that's a different topic because this kid knows your password to your phone. The story, I got to tell the story. So Jordan knows no phone, right? But Jordan is very much like his dad,
What are you talking
very
about?
persuasive. So I couldn't find him in the house. And I was like, where is he? He's probably next to his dad. So I go upstairs and I see you and you're doing your thing. And the minute I walk up, this boy who had your phone in his hands throws it, looks at me and says, I don't have it. And you laugh. I'm just like, I think that's going to be the generations after that will be a different navigation. Yeah, that's for sure.
Oh, for sure. I love working together with Gen Z. To me, some of the Gen Z are some of the most creative, innovative demographic. I love the ideas, the ideation, their ability to understand technology right away, use phones, cell phones. You know, you're talking to Gen Z when they ask them to take a picture right away. They got click, 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 click. Gotcha.
And they do it so easy.
Yeah, right there. You give that same phone to my generation, Gen X, baby boy. Okay. They're licking to take one photo.
But remember when we used to do that with our parents, just with an iPhone? And we would think that way. And now people think that way about us. Like, oh, here we go.
Yeah. Yeah. It says here, COVID-19 pandemic disrupted Gen Z's development of workplace skills. Interesting. As they missed internships and in-person milestones like college graduation. Firms like Deloitte, PwC, KPMG, and Ernst & Young now offer soft skills training, including speaking in meetings. Chief People Officer Ian Elliott says students who missed out on face-to-face activities may now be stronger in certain fields, such as working independently, and less confident in others, such as presentations. I agree. So if you are a Gen Z, you're listening to this, or you're a parent of a Gen Z listening to this, and they know how to install soft skills and with their technology and those type of hard skills, watch out. That person will lead the way. Let's go to the next topic here. The enemy. By the way, the economy is strong, and so is the enemy. That's why we as believers have to be stronger. The economy is strong. Why are more Americans barely making credit card payments? You deal with clients all the time.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Oh, yes.
From July to September 2024, 10.75% of active credit card accounts made only minimum payments, the highest rate in 12 years. While delinquent balances 30 plus days past due doubled from the pandemic low, reaching 3.52. Total credit card balances climbed to $914 billion, driven by consumers spending more, leading to higher balances by paying off less. What do you think that's happening?
It's a combination. You have people that obviously need to make more money because the cost of living.
Yeah.
But then you also have everybody struggling with what do I got to pay right now and I'll deal with it later, versus just stepping back and asking the questions of why does money seem to always control every decision I make? And even when I met you, that was probably the first time I've ever thought about really seriously going into entrepreneurship, where I could take that step to controlling money. But when so many people have this mindset, it's really deep in your subconscious, a set of beliefs that this is the only way we make money. Even when they're faced with this reality that you're not making enough, you got to find a different way to do it. It's very hard to break that cycle because I'm used to working for somebody. I'm used to doing it this way, getting my degrees, but all the things you're currently doing is actually driving up debt. So you got college debt, which is a big one. And then you go out into the working force. And because you're trying to pay off this debt from years ago, it's now creating more debt just to afford the current cost of living. And then the cycle just keeps continuing.
Yeah.
I think people have to really step back, wake up and say, is the way that I'm looking at money, my relationship with money, how do I make it? Where do I put it? How do I spend it wisely or not? maybe I need to change that part.
Yeah.
And I think until people change their mindsets, because then what they get stuck in is thinking that there's no solution. And
Yeah.
that's one thing entrepreneurship has taught me, is that there's always a solution. You always can find a
Yes.
solution when it comes to that.
Yes.
I think that's what I want most people to find.
You know, the recruiting process both you and I follow, you don't recruit the way I do. Like I straight up recruit. Like if I meet you, I find out that you're dissatisfied and you're ambitious and you're not fully expressing yourself, you know, financially and personally, you're like repressing your dreams and goals based on what you're earning or what a boss can tell you, whatever, or your current business right now, it's running you instead of you running it. I'll recruit you straight up. I'll bring you to the, I want to have a conversation with you. I'll show you what we do, how we do it. Potentially it's for you, you're enough, but at least you're going to know about it that way from me. You recruit different though. But like you have a hard time, just kind of like in this, how we're all experiencing this podcast right now.
Yes.
like in the 13 years we've been together,
I know, right?
how many potential leads have you given? Hey, babe, I got my nails done. I was at the grocery store. I was at the kids' game. How many people like that say, I got their number, you need to call them because I talked to them about what you do and what we do in business? Da, 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 da.
I am such an introvert. Like I'm just like, I will observe and listen and observe and listen. And I'll say, I think you need to go talk to them.
Yes. So how many referrals like that do you think you've ever come across and given to me?
2.
13 years. Okay. But with that being said, when you sit down with clients and you're putting together their insurance plans, their financial strategies, their retirement, their 401k rollovers, you know, insurance strategies for the children, for their mortgage, for their house, for the final expense for their parents, grandma and grandpa, etc. You recruit people the back way, through the back door. And so what do you experience when somebody says, okay, I'm 30 years old, I'm 40 years old, I'm 20 years old, and I want to save 100, and you ask them how much can they comfortably save on a monthly basis on average?
You know, seeing people's financial situation, I see it like a puzzle, right? And I sit down and I can clearly see what the bigger issue is. Like there is a problem, period, right?
Yeah.
And then you really go into, now this is where I did get this from you, which really helped me get out of my logic side to it, because I wanted to start understand people's behaviors and really asking them, what do you think led you to this point? Like knowing the things that you know now, what would you have done differently? And then even in that moment, it's very hard for people to come up with a solution to it. And then if we go deeper into it, I said, well, what if you just thought differently? You know, some people want change, but some people, well, most people don't want to be changed. So that's really where I sit there and say, I have a plan, but the deeper question is, are you willing to change the way you think?
Yeah.
Because if that doesn't happen, then no matter what plan that we put together and what you're able to execute, that old version of you will keep winning. And until we let that person go, you can't see what really, and this can go even deeper. I do believe that we're all created to do amazing things. We were created by God. So if he created us, he created us with all his infinite powers. So for somewhere along the line, since we were born in this human world, we forgot that. And so to me, it's just like getting back to realizing that you really can solve your problems.
Yeah.
It's not something that can't be solved if you're willing to change the way you think.
So when you come across a client that says, okay, Sheena, I finally want to start. By the way, it's so hard for me to say your first name right now. Gotta keep calling you babe. All those different things. Do you guys have that issue? Like you stop calling your wife, your husband, their name. It's just been babe or some other name.
You only call me by my name when you're upset.
So when I say, you're talking with clients and they say, Sheena, you know, I really want to get my act together. Let me start saving $100 a month because I want to be a millionaire by the time I'm 65.
It's not going to happen.
You straight up tell them that.
I don't sell them a fairy tale.
Yeah.
I just say that's not going to happen. We could start creating the foundation.
Yep.
But what really needs to happen is your income needs to increase. It solves the problem fast and it gets you out of this hole and it gets you to where you want to be.
But I'm already, you know, working overtime and, you know, I got a second job.
A lot of people work, but they don't work on the right things. So again, it's these responses I get from people. It literally is their subconscious. And I use this example to explain how powerful our subconscious is. It controls 95% of how we think and therefore how we act and how we make decisions. So I said, everybody put your hand on your heart and repeat this if you know this. And I said, I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America. And you see the individual, they just came out of their subconscious, even though they haven't heard it or said it for 20
That's a
plus
great
years.
exercise. Yeah.
Right? I'm like, this is exactly what I mean. There's a lot of thoughts in there along with that we got to fix.
Yeah.
And I
Ooh,
can show
deep
you how to
dive.
fix it. Yeah, but the part is they got to be willing. And by the way, when you start to change,
Yeah.
you know, all heck is going to break loose because the old version won't let you go that easy.
Yeah.
And so many people aren't able to make the complete change because they think the chaos that happens between the old them and the new them
Yeah.
is not supposed to be that way. No, that's exactly what's happening.
You know, when I'm doing the workshops or doing the BOM,
Mhm.
I pause during the middle of it. I say, okay, real quick, as I'm going over the cost of living, et cetera, et cetera. How many of y'all have a dream car?
Mm.
Right? Raise your hand if you got a dream car. Do you know the majority of that room doesn't raise their hand? Only maybe one or two people raise their hand.
Crazy.
And then the one or two that raise their hand, they can't even articulate what that dream car is. They kind of know what it is. I want to drive a G-Wagon.
Mhm.
Cool. Awesome. What color? White. Not black? No. How much does it cost? Don't know. Where would you buy it at? Don't know. How much would, right? So the specifics of that dream is still very vague, even though so in other words, the rest of the room hasn't even thought about it. And the ones that did think about it, there's no specifics attached to it.
It's crazy. I again, have not, want not. Money doesn't grow on trees. Children should be seen, not heard. I mean, I can go on with all the things that
We can't afford it.
we can't afford it. So these are the thoughts that have been planted in people's minds. And this is not just this generation, it's generations. And so
Yeah.
this is what makes people not think it's okay to want the finer things in life. Actually, it feels weird,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I remember my dream car at one point was a Honda Pilot.
The
And
pilot.
then I go and I meet you.
No offense to anybody who owns a Honda Pilot. But
Listen, Honda. But I go and meet you and you're just extra, right? But for some weird reason, I was attracted to it, right? Because deep down inside, it was a good reminder that I also deserve the best of life has to give me.
Yeah.
Therefore, it started to bring me out of it, right?
Remember when Patrick gave us a challenge that
my
if we
gosh.
did this challenge that we qualify for a company paid trip to Dubai with the rest
I
of the company?
remember that. Yes, to the T.
So you and I we were like, Patrick gave us a goal. If you do this in the next 90 days, you are going to fly with us to Dubai. Right? And maybe somewhere halfway through that, maybe there was, some hiccups along the way. And I'm like, babe, we gotta get this done because we're going to Dubai. Remember what you said?
Yeah, I don't want to go. You were like, we got to sell the dream. I was like, but we're not in the dream right now. Okay. I need to work. We need to make some income. We got to pay these bills. So I was literally living in the present, but you did such a good job of living in the future, even though we weren't there yet. And so what you did, you brought me there. And I think that is so hard for people to grasp how important it is to live in the future version of yourself, but in the present moment to stay on that vibration.
Yeah.
People don't know how to do that. They just want to stay in the present. And the present is not where they want to be in life.
Well, I appreciate you wanting to change and grow and follow my lead at that point. But
I always follow your lead.
right, but
So
what
cute.
my baby. But what happens when we're there now? We're in Dubai and we're checking in with a debit card. And
It was, I felt like when I say, like, so, okay, Sheena made the big step, right? She's going to start to live the dream or be very good at putting herself in the future, but living in the present for that reason. And I think that's so hard for people to grasp you have to take yourself there because therefore you attract stuff. But when that does happen, the old you is going to remind you to stay where you're at. That's exactly what was happening the entire trip. I felt you were the new version of me. And then I was being stubborn, trying to stay in the old version of me. Like you were happy as a clam.
Dubai,
And I felt like
Atlantis.
I felt like I was like pulling out my hair every time we gave someone a card. And I would the internet's not working, so I couldn't refresh the account to see if we would even make the swipe. And you just didn't care. And I was like, that's a great place to be. But that's what made our infamous section in Patrick's book in the elevator.
That's right. That's right. And because we were stressed out, we're under pressure, Patrick put that argument
It was
that
hysterical.
his friend heard us.
Can't wait for you to meet this great couple.
Steve, what's up, Steve?
Yeah.
There.
Oh, man.
What page is that in Patrick's book, Your Next Five Move? I think it's page 43 or 45.
It was hysterical.
But we are under pressure. And and every time we argued about it, I'm like, hey, don't rob me of my dream. Don't rob me of this.
Yeah, you called
But-
me a dream killer.
But yeah, you I didn't want to share with you a lot of things I wanted to do because I thought you just come in because you just pour so much damn logic towards it. I didn't want to share certain things with you.
Can I give a different perspective
Yeah.
for all the marriages out there that are relating to
Please.
us right now.
Inquiring minds want to know.
Women have a need for security so much, right?
Yes.
And we worry very easily. It's very easy for us to do that. And I think when you came into my life, you were so big on dreams. You were teaching me. But what I was doing to you, if you have the perspective, I was fighting it because I was trying to fight the old version of me. And then eventually I started to come around.
Mhm.
So for all the husbands out there, if your wife is like that, she doesn't mean to be that way. Continue to do it until she comes over to your side.
Did I ever force you though? Did I ever force
No,
you?
you didn't force me, but I did feel like I had an effect. Like when you're killing my dream, babe. You're killing my dream. But it was an internal fight that I was having. And because you kept staying in that world, like you refused to come to my world, basically, then I eventually came on your side. And I'm right now today very positive. I still fight, worries and fears and all of that, but I do it more aggressively now.
Speaking of dreams, most people feel that the American dream, the stereotype of the American dream is buying their home. Home prices hit a record $407,000, which is a new median high. U.S. existing home sales hit a 12-month high in December 2024 at a seasonally adjusted annual rate of 4.24 million units. According to the National Association of Realtors, the median house price range is now a record $407,500, with most sales concentrated in the $250,000 to $750,000 range. Housing inventory remains tight, down 13.5% month over month. Elevated mortgage rates near 7% continue to strain affordability. Property stayed on the market for an average of 35 days in December, up from 29 days a year ago. And first-time buyers account for just 24% of 2024 sales at record low. So a secret that a lot of people don't know about us is when we first got together and we got married, we moved out of my current home.
Bachelor pad.
Okay.
Don't know what
You
happened
didn't
there.
feel good moving in with me. That
Uh-uh.
home with there's a lot of
I don't hold it against you. What happened
there's a
before?
lot of history at that home. A lot of books were read,
Right.
library books, Blockbuster DVDs and VHS
I see the
tapes.
version of you and our 5-year-old. So
Okay. But we moved out of that house that I was raised my three kids in as the older kids, as a single dad, 3 kids. And we moved into another home down the street, another community, so we can put our kids in a better public high school, right? And we rented.
we did.
We rented for what, 8 years, 9
8
years?
years. Yeah, it was the majority of.
We were millionaires already,
right.
3 years into it,
Oh yes.
but we were still renting.
Mhm.
And we were underwhelmed. A lot of our associates that we coach and mentor, hey, we're dropping off Matt and Sheena at the house. We're going to go buy their house. They come to our house like, this is a millionaire's house?
Mm-hmm.
We were okay with that.
Because we knew where our investment should be. I think that goes to show like the mindset is you must have a home to have the American dream. Again, that's a certain set of beliefs.
Yeah.
My new mindset is I must have a business to have the American dream,
Create an asset first.
to create that.
Yeah.
And then that would give me all the things that we want.
And what's cool is we're probably the best tenants to our landlord because, I mean, how many times in 4 years in our first home that we got, how many times did we complain to them about something going on in the house?
Correct.
Yeah,
Nothing.
very, very little. So they, month after month, collect, and they didn't bother us.
Yeah, it wasn't like our credit score was the best when we got there. But, it goes to show we showed them.
Matter of fact, what a lot of people don't know too as well, when we did cross $500,000 in income, we wanted to go get an exotic car
Right.
and we got denied a car loan
Oh, yeah.
not because we had bad credit, because we didn't have any car loan history in our credit reports.
Isn't that funny? I thought about even when, because our home now, it's like, it's the first home I've ever
Yeah, so 8 years later,
Mhm.
we moved to Texas.
Mm-hmm.
We rent our first year because we didn't know where we were going to live.
Right.
Probably one of the worst years ever because we didn't even see the house before we even got here.
I know. It's
Sight
crazy.
unseen.
It was crazy. Every time I would find a place, I'm like, oh, let's go look at it. It was gone.
Yeah.
And that's how crazy the market was.
The one we
during
were
that
moving to
time.
Dallas during
Mhm.
pandemic.
Right.
Right. So we finally found a house. Like it was around the area that we thought we were going to rent an office in to build our business in.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It looked like 15, 20 minutes away from the office. Cool. We just rent. We didn't know. And then we found out it was half the size of our current house in Chicago.
It is what it is.
And there's a weird alley, that had these big curbs on the side to tear up my rims. Anyway.
You had a hard time.
Oh
with
my
it.
gosh. And the Rolls Royce in there. Forget about it. But we finally bought a house, and the process of us filling out the mortgage application. And where were we when we found out we got the approval?
We're in Florida.
In Florida, we're with Patrick, right?
Yes.
We're business planning. We're business planning at the time, and so we finally got the message. We filled out the loan application. We submitted our financials. Blah blah blah. They said you can have up to a $3.6 million home.
Mm-hmm.
What? What? Are you serious? 3 point. I said, baby, want to get it? You're like, no.
No, we're not using the entire. There you go. See, that's the good balance. though.
Right away.
That balance is good. Yeah, that balance is good.
I've learned to ask.
Yeah.
And then we got somewhere. So anyway, we got this $3.1 million house, and we live in a beautiful neighborhood. I mean, the house we live in, sweetheart. I mean, it's like on every
Grateful.
time. Oh my gosh.
Very grateful.
You know that dreams come true. You know, when you get this on your dream board and all other stuff. How do you feel living in this?
Grateful.
In this home?
Very,
Yeah.
very grateful.
We don't have one. We have two stairwells go up the same.
Yeah, it just was funny. I only used one the whole time. I think it's my mind doing it. Grateful, and you want to. I think this is where people, got to be very careful. Don't say I've made it, because I feel like it's just.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because the old you is still there, and.
Yeah, residuals.
Right, you gotta. It keeps tugging and pulling at you. Say, hey, come back here, and you always got to say, what's our next? You always have to have your next. So. Yeah, very grateful in that moment. And that gratefulness is something so powerful that if you stay there, no matter how much success you have, I do feel more comes your way.
How did
Stay
you
on that
feel?
Vibration.
Didn't mean to cut you off there, babe.
It's okay.
How did you feel when we're at the title company and then they hand you the keys to the house? There's a little motel
It was,
keychain on there, right?
yes,
And
it
you're
did. It was a good moment. It was one of those memories that you just want to keep in your mind, so that the next phase of your life, when another obstacle comes your way, you just go back to that memory and stay in that zone of happy, grateful.
Yeah.
And then you can make it through anything.
A funny story, little secret to reveal. Not a big one, but our first week here, didn't we get into a big argument?
Did we?
We got into a big argument. Remember, we transitioned from one house to another, and I slept here by myself, and then you stayed.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I do remember.
Bad arguments. And I remember telling myself, man, the enemy's trying to mess with us, man. The enemy's trying to mess with us, trying to break down a good thing. It was a bad argument.
I know.
Yeah, but God is good. Speaking of God, faith is important to Notre Dame football coach and Catholic convert, Coach Marcus Freeman, who's half Black and half Korean. Did you know that, babe? His mom's Korean.
Not until you told me.
Okay. And by the way, from a University of Pittsburgh alumni, I know how much you love Notre Dame, the Golden Domers.
We beat them.
Okay. Marcus Freeman, head football coach of Notre Dame football, converted to Catholicism in 2022 before his first full season leading the team. Reflecting on his decision to bring back the team's pre-game mass tradition, he said, when I made head coach, it was something that I had talked to the administration about. It was important for me to change that. Freeman described Notre Dame as a place where growing your faith is encouraged, adding, it's not only Catholicism, it's the reality of you having a faith in a belief in something bigger than yourself. You know what else I respect about this guy? They keep bringing up, he'll be the first, African-American head coach to make it to the national championship. So listen, guys, I think that's secondary to me being a good football coach. Mm-hmm. He didn't play into the profiling. I got a lot of respect for him doing that. But he's changing lives. Like when we interviewed Coach Deion Sanders, mm-hmm. He's not a coach. He's changing men's lives. How would you explain faith in our marriage, in our relationship, in our finances, in our business, in all that we're doing? How is faith made importance to you?
Well, they say you got to have faith. You do.
You got to have faith, the faith.
I think that's a lot of where you're in a moment that you think life isn't good, or you just have this negative outlook on life. Faith is about seeing something that's not there. And you taught me this very well, because you'd always paint the picture of what our life is, even though it wasn't what our life was at the moment. But you got to have faith. And it kind of ties down to, if you look at the Bible, in every way, shape, or form, it talks about, you have to understand that this life that was designed for you, there's a purpose to it. and you're meant to have a full, abundant, wonderful life, but it does not come without being tested. So if people really understood what life is all about,
Yeah.
they wouldn't look at obstacles or setbacks in such a negative way. But again, it's how we're programmed when we were young. We look at failure as a bad thing.
Yeah.
And then you realize, if you look in the Bible, how many failures happen. Oh no, that's actually part of where the biggest lessons are. It's that stepping stone. If you look at it from a good, positive perspective, a stepping stone in the right direction. As long as you have faith that you know everything's going to be good.
Amen. I'm reading here back in your softball bio at University of Pitt. It says you had about a 250 batting average. Is that about right, babe?
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, you average .250, meaning every time you stepped up to plate 10 times, you swung out 7.5 times.
Correct. And a good batting average is in the 300s or the 400s. Like 400 is really good.
Yeah.
So it kind of goes to show it challenges the way you think, right? So in that essence, it's less than 50%, but you're still really good.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So we came up with a new chant last night.
Oh, you did.
Na 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 na. Emerson Bay shop going wide. Na 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 na.
Oh, I like
Na
it.
na na
We're going
na.
to test it out tonight.
Emerson Bay shop going wide. We love going wide. New relationships, new growth, new clients, new categories, new
Sometimes
challenges.
new is hard for people, though.
That's true. Yeah. People say, I want new money. I want new money. I want a new life. But a new version of habits have to evolve too as well.
New surrounding of people. That's the hardest part.
Sometimes people are so family oriented, they can't seem to detach from how their family is. They keep pulling them back, right? And family guilts them because they're thinking differently, even though they want to be the first one to ever create generational wealth.
Oh, it's so hard. It's so hard to detach or at least separate it.
Yeah.
Because you might decide to change, doesn't mean people around you have. And you have to learn to emotionally detach from things that people might say that you're used to being around that goes against what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Hardest thing for people to do.
Yeah, 100%. Speaking of families, middle children grow up to be better people. A new study by Michael Ashton from Brock University and Kimbyam Lee, University of Calgary, suggests middle children grow up to be more honest, humble, and agreeable than their siblings. True?
No, I'm a middle child, but I have 3 sisters, 2 older, 1 younger. They're all great people.
Yes. Middle children also scored high on honest humility, meaning they avoid manipulating others for personal gain and uninterested in lavish wealth and luxuries.
Now that sounds pretty much like me.
And feel no special entitlement to elevated social status. The youngest siblings followed in these traits, whilst eldest siblings and only children scored lowest. Parents Magazine asked whether these findings mean middle children are better.
It's tough to agree to it. I mean, a studies, it generalizes people, but there's always the variables of circumstances too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the oldest. I think oldest kids are better.
Okay.
But the thing is, people are, Patrick always got, he's got this movement with us for all of us making money, building our wealth and building our families, building our homes. He wants us having 5 kids.
Yes.
We have 5 kids.
Right.
3 are adult kids now, and 2 we're raising up to be adult kids.
You want more? Is that what you're saying?
No, no. You want more. I'm whatever you want, babe.
Right.
I'm good. I mean, I'm 51 years old today. I can make easy. I got the easy part. You got the 9 months. You got the little kicking in your belly, kicking your lungs, kicking your ribs. You got on the top of that, you got the birthing part, and then you got the breastfeeding part. You're very good with that. The milk machine, right?
You definitely have that ingrained in your head.
1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, you're up. What are you doing? You're milking the milk machine, and there's Jordan, just bunch of mommy's breast milk in the fridge. For me, what do I got in this whole process? Well, I don't know. I got 3 minutes of active work.
Yeah, but you're a father for life.
Sandwich and a nap.
No, you play a big role, babe.
I love being a dad.
You do, and you're really good.
I'm fun. I have a lot of fun being a dad.
Yes, you do.
It's the most. I was just talking to Last week we talked about is having kids worth it? One woman in New York says, no, it's not worth it because you need so much resource, you need so much help, you need so much support. Well, you have that.
Right.
You have support, you have help, you have financial resources. And you were a single mom at one point. So you've seen both. Mm-hmm. How much better is it being a parent knowing that you got your financial resource, support system, money, and because of that you have open doors and opportunity? I mean, our son was just getting coached by not by one, but two former NFL athletes this Sunday.
Yes.
I'm watching like, what type of dream am I watching? Seeing my son getting trained by two, a linebacker from the Cowboys and a former tight end from the Packers. Dream for me, but he's enjoying. So big difference, you would say, from being a single mom, tight with time, tight with resources, versus now married, us raising our children together with resources. What would you say what the difference is?
Well, I think, again, going back to these beliefs, right? We've heard it. Money isn't everything, right? I've heard that.
Money doesn't make you happy.
Money can't buy happiness. I think it was even a movie at one point. And you have to sit there at one moment and just stop listening to that. Because I've had the experience of raising our kids without money. And I've had the experience of raising them with money. And I definitely would prefer with money.
100%.
You have a lot more confidence in decisions that you make, whether it be the school or the resources you give them. And if you really, truly want the best for your kids, you got to do whatever you have to do to break that mindset. And that's what drove us. That's really what drove us. So
same biggie, more money, more problems, right?
That's another saying. It's crazy, isn't it? More money, more, like, where did that come from? And why did we start believing that?
I say more money, better problems.
Right. Or more money solves problems. Isn't that crazy to say? But Sheena, you're being greedy and money is not everything. I just choose now if I care to listen to that or if I don't. Yeah. And I think you get a lot of people that will constantly say it's not the right way to think. I just learned to choose how I want to think. I'm going to choose it from here on out.
Speaking of choosing, our article here says, my parents modeled financial transparency, and my husband and I openly talk about money with our kids too. How cool is it to talk to JoJo and talk to our kids about finances and money? And if they have any questions about it, they can always ask us.
It's great. He's pretty good.
Yeah. But what was he doing in the car yesterday? Talk to me about the stocks.
Stocks and everything. I was like, good for you, sir. Good for you. You know what's so funny? I even asked him, we were doing this discussion about what he wants to do for the spring season, if it's going to be track or if I suggested something like, let's do agilities and sports therapy and things of that nature. He goes, Mom, I'm going to have to talk to Dad first. And I just said, okay.
Wow. He's learned how to trust his dad's guidance, huh?
He's always trusted your guidance. It just shows how much you mean.
Means a lot to me. Parents, for those of you out there, sometimes parents are ashamed maybe about their finances. The financial situation. That's why they don't have transparency with them.
You know what? I was giving him a pep talk. I said, you say you're a champion. I'm a champion, right? To JoJo, because he just played his game, right? And then he talked about how he was aware when he was younger, when we were just building this up, he was aware of our financial struggles.
Was he?
Yes.
At 4 or 5?
Yes. I was like,
jeez.
He has a good memory.
Very good.
And I started asking him, how did you know? He just observed. He would catch things, right? He'd look at our faces.
Wow.
And so I feel that that's probably a lot of kids. They know. They hear discussions, they hear arguments, they hear things, and then money doesn't grow on trees. We can't afford this. We can't do that. Like, they know. So I think the transparency is there whether people like it or not. The question would be, do you want to do something about it?
Yeah.
And so JoJo, he saw us do something about it. Like, he saw that mindset of ours change. And I think it was the biggest blessing because he saw what happens when you choose to think this way versus if we did not choose to think that way.
Yeah.
So
he made a comment yesterday too, because he was talking about him having a challenge with one of the subjects.
Oh, yes.
And he says, the kids say, if you don't do good in school, you won't do good in life. I said, well, yeah, my dad don't have a college degree, and he's no, he said your GPA 2 from high school. He said my cat doesn't have a college degree, and he has a 2.0
2.2 GPA, and he makes more money than your parents. Like, that's exactly what he said. So he's witty. He knows how to fire back.
I reframed him later. I said, listen, kid, you got to look at grades not as, not A's and B's making you successful. You want to look at grades as, okay, there's a challenge put before you.
Correct.
You start it, you finish it, and you do it with the best. You work you work not unto the grades, you work unto the Lord, right?
Discipline and skills.
Give it your very best, right? And so that's how I encourage them to reframe it. Yes, grades is going to make you money, but the fact that you do your very best, that's what's going to make you a lot of money down the road. We only have time for maybe one or two reaction to these videos. So, sweetheart, I want your.
Oh no, I haven't seen them.
Yeah, that's why. So
is that why? Oh,
that's,
surprise!
That's
reaction.
exactly why.
Surprise.
So, this is RFK, right? Now he's Robert Kennedy. Gee, we met him.
Yes.
But he left the Democratic Party, and he's a big advocate against vaccines. Now, I saw the letter we got from Dr. Block that we are sending to our schools that kids no longer have
to
take more vaccines, right? And so I want your reaction to what Robert Kennedy Jr. has to say about fighting against other diseases in our country. Let's take a look at this.
We have the highest chronic disease burden of any country in the world, and it's destroying us. It's $4.3 trillion a year. It's costing our country 5 times the military budget. When my uncle was president, the medical expenditures on chronic disease were 0. Today, it's 95% of our healthcare expenditures. It's sinking our country. And we're getting sicker and sicker. We're paying twice what Europeans do for healthcare. We have the worst healthcare outcomes in the world. It's all because we're being mass poisoned by processed foods, by pesticides, by chemicals, by pharmaceutical drugs. And there's a series of industries that actually make money by keeping us sick. Wow. It's not just industries, but it's the med schools, the hospitals. The insurance companies you would think would want us healthy, but they actually make more money if we get sicker. And then, of course, the pharmaceutical companies, if you have a chronic disease, you're a lifetime patient. This drug, Ozempic, costs $1,500 for a week.
For diabetes.
And there's now a bill before Congress that would force the insurance companies, Medicare, to pay for it for every American who's obese. Well, that's 74% of our population.
Obesity, yeah.
Right. That's going to be $3 trillion a year. And for a tiny fraction of that, you could give every American 3 meals a day of organic food, and diabetes would disappear overnight. Diabetes is treatable with food, with exercise, and obesity is.
There's other articles that say that we're the most obese, like one of the greatest chronic struggles, attacks against the human beings right now is obesity. And we see it in our business.
Yes.
People can't get life insurance policies because they're obese.
Yeah, and all the other different ailments that come along with it.
Yep.
And there's so much truth to it. I remember my parents went on like a European cruise. And they were eating food, on the other side of the ocean.
Yeah.
They said night and day.
Babe, every time we went to Greece, we went to Italy, the potatoes, they just tasted differently.
Everything.
Yeah.
So there is something going on. And even when, I work with clients that are getting life insurance, and of course it's underwritten by health, you see it. You're like, wow, there's chronic diseases, there's medications. And when you start seeing the same medications over and over and over again, even from my viewpoint, you start to sit there and say, what is going on?
Yeah.
And
because somebody says if they have diabetes or high blood pressure, you already know the medication. Is an insurance agent?
Yes, I do.
A life insurance agent.
Yes. And it's not, I have diet and exercise as a plan.
Yeah.
It's no, I have this.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, on the retirement side, right? Because we look at making sure people don't run out of money in retirement. One of the biggest bills next to the taxes they pay is healthcare.
Yeah.
And to get a health insurance policy, one of my clients is $2,400 a month.
Life insurance, not health insurance.
Right.
Wow.
Health insurance.
Oh, health insurance.
Health
yeah,
insurance.
That's right.
It was health insurance.
I remember that conversation.
Yes. And it's crazy that people have that as their only option next to Medicare. Yeah. And then it goes down to quality. So there's a issue here. It's a very big issue. Very mindful now of what our kids eat. And again, it goes back to having the resources to be able to do that. Like,
what's our budget for food?
I don't even have the budget.
There is no budget when it comes to that.
Because think about that budget when it comes to health,
Yeah.
right?
It's
You
invaluable.
you should spend, of course, money wisely, but the healthier food is going to cost more because they don't want you to have that healthy food.
Yeah.
Who they is, we don't know, but we know.
When's the last time you stopped worrying about what restaurant we eat at or where we buy food at?
No, it's
So
more
it's always the best.
what's this food? Where did it come from?
Yeah.
And how was it raised? And how did it get to our plates?
Not how much it cost.
No, not how much it cost.
When's the last time you worried about how much it cost?
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Amen. Praise God.
Mhm.
On that note, that's why y'all watching the 7-Figure Squad, because I don't want you hearing this information, not applying it. And I want you to make sure you're providing for the family that you love and care about, that you protect them. In this case, finances help you protect from the wrong foods and the right external environments from affecting the quality of their life. So that being said, guys, did you love seeing my wife on the podcast? Please put it in the comment section below. I know I did. I got to spend some quality time with my wife. We were always so zigging and zagging, involved all the time. But if you want to see more of Sheena Sapaula on the podcast, please put it in the comment section below. What was your biggest takeaway from my boo-boo, my wifey here, and her? What is the takeaway from the both of us? To see the different dynamics between the two of us here operating. And we'll see everybody here in Atlanta, February 11th and 13th. We have CEO Fawn Weaver of Uncle Nearest coming out.
Yeah, that's why I got the cup.
Oh,
Look at that.
representation.
Yes.
Uncle Nearest Whiskey. That's right.
Mhm.
She took a company from scratch to $1.1 billion in sales
Excited to hear.
in
it.
7-8 years. First African-American woman, non-celebrity that's ever done that. So we're looking forward to seeing her and interviewing her on stage and how she recruited and built a team, how she casted a vision of Uncle Nearest Whiskey and how she purposed of that message that America not remembers her, but they remember Uncle Nearest Green, who was a fellow pioneer of Jack Daniel's whiskey. Her book, Love and Whiskey, is out there, and she'll be signing books at our event in Atlanta, February 11th and 13th at the Omni, the convention center out there. With that being said, guys, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe, hit like. Please put your biggest takeaway in the comment section below. With that being said, peep us out next podcast here. And until we meet again, I have my wife, my boo-boo. Till we meet again. Continue to live smart, continue to love smart, and be money
Live
smart
smart
today.
today.